Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. First, I can start by saying all praise to Yahweh Shema Shai. Bashim Kakadash, them honors to the elders and apostles that we will, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. This is another video. As you can see, the title says Robert Gates, last time the military became political. We had 20 years of war. Morning Joe, MSNBC. So I'm going to get into this and bring out a couple points.
Welcome back to Morning Joe. Joining us now, columnist and associate editor for the Washington Post, David Ignatius.
We're also really happy to bring in former Secretary of Defense to both President Bush and Obama, Robert Gates. He's the author of the new book entitled Exercise of Power, American Failures, Successes, and a New Path Forward in the post-Cold War world. And Secretary Gates, Mika and I are, of course, we're honored to have David Ignatius here, always. Such a good friend of Dr. Brzezinski and the family. But we still, we're so greatly honored that you came all the way across the country at Dr. Brzezinski's funeral and memorial service and said those kind things about him. You meant the world to him, and he considered you to be exactly what America needed in terms of leadership. So we were honored then. We were just talking about it about a month ago when we were remembering him. And we just want to thank you for that. And of course, thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.
I want to talk about a couple of takeaways from Exercise of Power. And let's begin with you talking about times that the United States has made the mistake in the past of using military force to achieve goals that were non-military goals. Can you give us some examples and tell policymakers how they avoid making those same mistakes in the years to come?
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be with you all again. I would say that both Iraq and Afghanistan are examples that I cite in the book. They are both cases in which we achieved our initial military objective very quickly in both countries. But then the mission expanded beyond making sure there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and getting rid of the Taliban in Afghanistan. We took on as a mission, actually, for our military to try and change those societies, to change their culture, to bring democracy, accountability in government, modern government, and so on. And part of the problem is that I think, and argue in the book, those ambitions were probably unrealistic. But beyond that, we tried to achieve them with the military. The military taking on tasks that are not necessarily military tasks, including many aspects of nation building. And it was that change of mission from going from a military mission to a political mission that created the problems that found us with 20 years of war in virtually both countries. And so, I argue.
And then it went from them countries and spread across the whole Middle East, in some way, some form, some fashion, meaning, if not the U.S. was over there, they set up Al-Qaeda and them terrorist groups. It's called proxy wars, to go over there and take them nations. Not only did they do that to mess up the nations, because they really only over there for the resources and to establish a new world order. They sent in agent provocateurs also to help out the agenda, not just in Iraq and Afghanistan, and a lot of people don't know why this is really happening, but that's why we were set up. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. It says, yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, his philosophies, Esau and his philosophies. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell and is as death. So no matter where this white man go, he always killing people off, man. He can't stay in his own home, man. He go over and takes over people's countries. That was the whole agenda behind them going over there in Afghanistan and Pakistan. because it's a bigger agenda. It said, and cannot be satisfied, but gathered unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. That's why America is called the melting pot. All the nations are over here. Trying they were trying to live the American dream, but they can see that this dream is turning into a nightmare, man. But Esau only doing what what Yahweh Shai put in his spirit, man, which is fulfilling prophecy. Because Esau was given a gift, he was given a blessing, and he's executing his blessing. So where is the This is Genesis chapter 27. Verse 30, it says, and it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Issachar his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he also had made savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly, and said, who? Where is he that hath taken venison and brought it me? And I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him, yea, and he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, thy brother came with subtlety, and he hath taken away thy blessing. So I'm just giving you the story. And he said, is not he rightly named Jacob? For he hath supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, which was of him to be a ruler in the kingdom of heaven. And behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, O my father? O my father, bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. Right? So Esau was given the blessing to rule this world, man. That's why he's doing the things that he's doing. And by thy sword, through thy military, these wars that they starting, thou shalt live, and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Right? And that's prophecy during the time of King Solomon, when Esau came from up under Jacob. So Esau is doing what was put into his spirit to do, his blessing according to the Bible, and he can't do nothing but that, man. You got Edomites that's part of the agenda. Then you got the Edomites that wish stuff hadn't happened the way it happened, but we don't control anything. The Lord said, man's goings out of the Lord. How then can a man understand his way? Revelation chapter 6, verse 4, it says, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. And that's Esau, the white man, the so-called the Caucasians, the so-called white man. And that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword, right? And Esau is famous for his sword, his weaponry and stuff. So, but I'm gonna play the video.
You in the book, we have to be true to our values. We have to promote democracy, and we have to promote.
That's one of the reasons why this country is coming down, because they're promoting democracy,
human rights. But we also can't be the world's policeman and try and impose democracy at the point of a gun.
So, Mr. Secretary, we, of course, supposedly learned our lesson after Vietnam. We all remember Cap Weinberger and the Weinberger Doctrine, updated in the 1990s by Colin Powell, which talked about several of those points, having a very clear objective, having a trigger point on when you leave the country, making sure you go in and have the support of the American people while you do that. Why is it that we keep repeating the same mistakes from Vietnam to Afghanistan?
Well, partly I think it's because people don't, particularly people at senior levels in government, probably don't read enough history. There's not, one of the problems is the absence of continuity in our government. You know, when I stepped down as Secretary of Defense in 2011, one of the comments that I made was that I was the last senior national security person to have served presidents of both parties. So I had a continuity going back literally, except for the Clinton administration, back to Lyndon Johnson. And you remember these things. And even as we were making decisions in the Obama national security arena, I would say, well, you know, that didn't work under President Johnson or President Nixon or President Carter and so on. And sometimes that makes you too cautious, but also when the fire breathers get into the situation room, those who caution counsel often get ignored.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I want to bring out this point. They mentioned the Weinberger Doctrine. It says the Weinberger Doctrine was a list of points governing when the United States could commit troops in military engagements. The doctrine was publicly disclosed by U.S. Secretary of Defense Caspar Weinberger on November 28, 1984, in a speech entitled The Uses of Military Power, delivered by the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. It says the Weinberger Doctrine was an overgrowth of the collective lessons learned from the Vietnam War and the desire of the U.S. government to avoid such quagmires in the future. The Weinberger Doctrine. The United States should not commit forces to combat unless the vital national interests of the United States or its allies are involved, in which they didn't listen to that. And, you know, they would say that it was because of humanitarian reasons, but it's ultimately because they were trying to fulfill the New World Order, or help bring in the New World Order. 2, U.S. troops should only be committed wholeheartedly and with the clear intention of winning. Otherwise, troops should not be committed, right? And you know, Esau's so proud, they finna go into a war that they finna lose. Because it's the spirit of Yahweh this prophecy. U.S. combat troops should be committed only with clearly defined political and military objectives and with the capacity to accomplish those objectives. 4, it says the relationship between the objectives and the size and composition of the forces committed should be continually reassessed and adjusted if necessary. It says U.S. troops should not be committed to a battle without a reasonable assurance of the support of U.S. public opinion in Congress. Right. So it says the commitment of U.S. troops should be considered only as a last resort. Now, Esau don't listen to no public, and they damn sure barely listen. Well, the Congress and all of them be involved. A lot of them be involved with this, you know. But Esau only doing this because he know that he has a short time, man. That's why Esau making his moves the way he doing, and all the laws that he set up to govern himself, he went against his own law system, man, because he's the devil, like the scriptures say. This is Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them, talking about all the people. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Right? Esau knows he has a short time. That's why he's starting all of these wars and all this chaos and commotion throughout the world, man. And Esau, I'm talking about the elites. I'm not talking about the regular Joe Smo. I'm not talking about a lot of these congressmen and everything, because a lot of them in the know, but they're not in the know.
Secretary Gates, it's Willie Geist. Great to have you on the show this morning. You have such an interesting perspective on this when we talk about Iraq and Afghanistan, because, of course, you were there as Defense Secretary from 2006 to 2011, not at the beginning of either of those wars, but in the middle of them. So as you talk about Afghanistan, and you said it was a mistake to take on this idea of a moral mission to help create a free society and to change the culture of Afghanistan, an exercise in futility, you say we should have been out of there in January of 2000. 2002. But at any time during your time as Defense Secretary from 2006 forward, did you say, guys, let's pull up and get out of here? Or was it too late at that point to do that?
Well, I think to a certain extent it was too late, but what we were doing at the end of the Bush administration and then through the first 2 years of the Obama administration was actually not trying to achieve the more expanded objectives, but simply trying to keep the Taliban from overrunning the country again. The reason for the additional troop requests, both under President Bush and under President Obama, all of which I recommended, really had more to do with pushing the Taliban back from Kandahar and from eastern Afghanistan than it did of achieving the broader objectives. One of my consistent messages to both President Bush when I had my interview with him in the fall of 2006 and to President Obama as well was the need to narrow our ambitions that our objective should be limited solely to empowering an Afghan government enough to hold on to power and keep the Taliban out, and that should be it. We also never had the civilian capacity in either country, in either Iraq or Afghanistan, to try and implement the broader objectives associated with nation building. So the reason we went for more troops was not to try and achieve the more ambitious objectives post 2002.
Now, the U.S. ain't with no nation building because everybody's seeing what happened to Gaddafi and see what's going on in his country now. They said that they was there to help them people and build them up and everything, and that place still tore down, So ain't nobody trying to hit nothing, nobody's opinions, nothing. Let the scriptures is going to speak on what's supposed to be happening, what's going on. It's Isaiah chapter 55, verse verse 11. It says, "So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth; it shall not return unto me void." I'm gonna start at verse 10. It says, "For as the rain cometh down and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth, and maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth; it shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereunto I sent it." Right? So the Lord wants this stuff to happen. All this is happening is because of prophecy. So Esau ain't going to do nothing to stop it, man. This is Joel chapter 3, verse 1. It says, "For behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem," right? So through the Spirit, us waking up and being out there on them highways and byways is prophecy, and we helping the Lord bring his people back to him, While this is happening, it says, "I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land." Right. So since they put us in slavery and did all this stuff to us, man, the Lord is is gathering them down into the Middle East. That's why they're still over there. And it's been 20 years. But yeah, with that being said, I ain't gonna drag it out no further. I just want to hit that point. Call all y'all some shy. Double honors to the elders and apostles that rule well. And salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. I hope this was edifying. Shalom.